Well, hello guys, hope you're all doing well today. We've come across to the northeast actually today, partly for the heather, because it's all out in really vibrant coloured blooms today, so I kind of wanted to get a couple of images with that. And then we're heading further across into Bamburgh Castle, which I've shot before. Probably the last time you would have seen me there was with Andy Gray and Alan Lightly. And yeah, just looking forward to that tonight. We're going to try over actually at Bamburgh tonight a sunset shot, which I've never done before over there. It's always been sunrise, but a sunset shot should work really quite well this time of year, because where the sun sets it should illuminate the castle. And obviously today, blue sky day, hopefully we'll get some clouds rolling in over there as the day goes on, and those clouds will illuminate, but we'll just play it by ear. But while we're here, I thought it's a good time to explore these areas while all the heather coming out, because it's kind of coming into its best at the minute over here. Over near home, it's hardly out at all, but here it's really, really vibrant. So I've been picking out a few of these trees. There's a few of these pine trees. There's a couple behind me here, and there's a few further over in that direction. And I'm just trying to isolate them against the purple heather. I think it contrasts quite well, the sort of deep greens against the purple of the heather. So I'm going to play around a bit with that. I've found a shot that works over there, I think, but there's a couple of elements that I don't really like, and I'll get you to the back of the camera and I'll show you what I mean. I've also found another shot here, which we'll move on to next, but I'll take you down there and walk you through why I kind of like it, but there's something just not quite right about it. Okay guys, I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to see the back of this screen or not, because it's really difficult for me to even see it. But basically I've got a pine tree off to the left, a pine tree off to the right, and there's all these smaller ones along in a row up here. I've got the heather as a foreground, sort of leading you into those trees. It would have been really nice if those green patches at the top weren't there and that was all heather, so the trees were really isolated away from everything else. The other thing I'm not too keen on is, I don't know whether you can see, just along this corner, there's a dry stone wall, which is really nice, but it's just sort of cutting that corner off, and no matter where I move the camera, I can't eliminate that at the minute. I can't get high enough to get rid of it. So I either need to walk further down the hill here and try and look back on it a bit further, or I don't know whether it'll work. But I'm going to play around with it, see what I can make of it. If it turns out by any miracle, I'll pop it up, and even if it hasn't, I'll try and pop it up and just kind of point out the bits that haven't worked, just in case you can't see the back of this camera. Yeah, so basically, if you can see, I've got that tree off to the left there. I've got the other one off to the right-hand side, and then I'm just kind of using all this heather down in this foreground, just down here, to lead you into those trees along the back. And then, obviously, the bit that I was concerned about is this wall running down here, and it's just slightly in the way. Yeah, so with this shot I'm trying to isolate this pine tree, which is just in front of me here, and using this heather here in the foreground, so getting really, really low to the ground. I've got it in portrait orientation, and basically just focusing around about a third of the way into the scene, and try that shot. Now, it's simple because basically all I've got is blue sky, purple heather, and the tree. That's it, nothing else in the scene. So it's kind of a minimalist shot, I guess, and I'm probably going to crop it down to a square crop. I think it's going to work best. But I'll play around with the orientation and see what works. Maybe a longer shot, I don't know. Just experiment with it and see what works. Yeah, so I'm just kind of focusing on this row of trees in the background there. I'm using the pano function on the camera just to isolate them and put them in the centre of the frame, really. So I'm trying to get equal amounts of sky and equal amounts of heather in the frame just to kind of balance it out, and just using those as the interest in the middle of the frame. I think it works okay. It's hard to tell from the back of this screen. But yeah, look, it's looking okay. I mean, it's not the most ideal because of the weather conditions. It's still really, really harsh, and it's still about another 2 or 3 hours till sunset. But yeah, looking at f16 here at 50th of a second, ISO 100. And if it works out, here's the shot. So yeah, it's been a kind of a scouting up on this moor really, just to kind of come back for future shots, I think. There's not a great deal of interest going on in the sky, and I think it really needs that, or at the very least sunset light to try and give those trees some glow and a bit of atmosphere about them. The heather's absolutely beautiful and it's so vibrant and gorgeous, but without anything to go with it, it's really nothing. I hope 1 or 2 of those shots have turned out, because I think even if the conditions are harsh like they have been today, I think there's always a shot. If you look hard enough, you can always find a shot no matter what. Might not be the best shot in the world, but it's always a shot that you can improve on for future reference anyway, or put it in the bank for future reference is what I'm trying to say, and then come back when conditions are better. Yeah, so I think that was definitely worth a bit of an explore, see what it's like. The heather's obviously beautiful at the minute, but conditions not really ideal. Would be nice for a bit more action in the sky, I think. But yeah, it's definitely worth coming back to this area and trying again for sure. So we're going to have a bit of a drive on, see if we can get some lunch somewhere, probably charge the car, and then carry on, and we'll see you in a bit. Right, so we've come down to the beach now from the moors, and it's still a lovely evening down here. There's still not a great deal of cloud in the sky though, and it's still pretty busy. So we're going to have a wander down, see what we can find, probably some foreground interest down in the rocks below there. We'll get down there and we'll catch up then. So this is my first shot, and hopefully you can kind of see it, if not for the glare on the back of the camera. It's just like a pattern shot, and the texture of these patterns in the sand, I really quite like them. They've got a sort of simplicity, but there's also a kind of order to them as well. There's a couple of almost like nodules, and they work together quite well there. So I'm going to try and, I've chosen a square crop on the back of the camera. I'm going to try and move something around with that, and I'm about, at the minute, looking at this, I'm about 1/10 of a second at ISO 100 at f16, and that's looking about right for me. But as I say, we'll play around with it and see what we can do with it. I'm quite happy with it though, and I think it works really well as that sort of square crop. So yeah, there's nothing really going on, and there's still quite a lot of people on the beach. To top that off, still quite bluebird, and we've got quite a bit of time before the sun actually sets. So I've decided to go for a more intimate shot again, using a square crop format. I've found a tide pool down here, and I'm going to spend a bit of time trying to compose an image here. There's lots of textures and shapes and patterns with the seaweed, different colours. And I think that square crop lends itself really, really well to this sort of scene. It sort of narrows the point of view and makes the viewer focus right in on it. So I'll get into the back of the camera and I'll try and walk you through what I've got. So yeah, so I've got all these different patterns and shapes in the pool. Some really nice seaweeds up in this top corner here. And then to contrast that, I've got the rock down in this bottom section with lots of little different coloured shaped seaweeds in it as well. And then you've actually got, where the pool's plunged further and deeper, there's lots of little bits of kelp, barnacles, whelks, and all sorts of little bits of sea life in there. And I think it just adds an interesting sort of group of textures and shapes. There's just something about it I like. So I thought I'll take this image. I've popped on a circular polarizer just to take the glare off the top of the water there, and I'll take this shot and pop it up if it turns out. Well guys, as you can probably see, it's still bluebird. It's not exactly fantastic, there's not that much cloud, but we are starting to get a bit of colour back there, at least a little bit. It's going a little bit pink. So what I've decided to do is use the pano function on this camera again, just to kind of simplify it and cut down all the open sky and get rid of all the blue basically, and concentrate on the band of colour that's sitting behind the castle there. So what I've opted to do is use a 10-stop filter to smooth out the water, because it's already quite calm and there's no real movement in the water anyway. So the very little bits of water that I have got in there, I'm just going to smooth out as much as possible and just hope that this kind of colour gives the image enough interest. And I think it does, to be fair. The foreground's a little messy because it's obviously low tide as well. So we've got a lot of kelp and seaweed and rocks with barnacles and everything on, which isn't fantastically ideal, but I don't think it's overly messy either. And then I've got 3 rocks off to the left-hand side over there, which work quite well as well. And yeah, I think it works really quite well. Do you know what? I think there's a shot here as well.
Yeah, I've got this one here. There's a pano.
I was just looking at it thinking slow shutter speed.
Yeah. Very minimal, there's not much to it, but...
So as you can see, there's a little more colour appeared behind the castle over there, but the problem we've got now is all that directional light we had on it is faded because the sun is now dipped behind the horizon back that way. So there's not a great deal more we're going to get really. Going to capture an image with the last of this colour in the background there, but that's probably going to be it for the day. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this one. Maybe a little bit short, but I'll catch you on the next one. Take care guys, I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.